Okay, so we're live. Our first live. Changing the world. Okay, so we have a card in the way. Let me get that out of the way. All right, so I don't know how people come on, but I guess we can give people a few minutes to jump on before we start talking.
Mhm.
Um, let me. Go ahead and get started with TikTok. It's my date of birth. um, I don't know what all that is.
Maybe you got a few people.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome to our live. I am so happy you decided to join us. Let's see who's here. Is it Brandy? Hi, Brandy. How are you? So, if you guys who are on here have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will go ahead and answer them. But I think we're going to start off with some, just some conversations or some thoughts that we had that we think is important. What do you think that is the most important thing? Awesome. I'm glad you're doing good. What do you think is the most important thing when it comes to recovery after an affair?
The most important thing?
Yes, something that we should focus on.
Oh my God, it's important. Forgiveness. That's a huge one.
On both sides?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you have to be able to forgive. To be able to move forward. Without forgiveness, we can't move forward. So I would say forgiveness is a big one.
Yeah. I would say forgiveness for me, where you were concerned, was that I was angry that you had abandoned me emotionally for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I was a workaholic. Didn't I really just, I don't know, I just dismissed the things that you asked me to do as a family. I just want to do my own thing. So yeah, I did abandon you emotionally. To be honest, I wasn't a perfect husband, right? It's also important to know that, for the betrayed, you're not the reason, right, that that the wayward had an affair. So
Right. Yeah, and that was supposed to be on TikTok. That was one of my questions that I wanted to talk about that I got was, do you think it's your fault that I had an affair? Like, how do you feel about that? Or maybe when you first found out, how did you feel about it? Like, did you think, oh my gosh, it's my fault, I did something wrong?
I didn't think it was, but you told me it was. So I mean, I think that just comes with, I think, a lot of people in this situation get blamed for the other spouse having the affair. Which, I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, some of the things that led up to it is because the relationship was broken, and that doesn't help because it leaves people vulnerable. So your vulnerability, just opens you up to relationships that are not supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. And, I also think on that too, that a lot of women don't really know how to talk about how they feel. You know, especially me. I didn't really know how to say, hey, I miss you, and can we spend time together? I did say that a couple of times, but I think a lot of what we do is we internalize it, and I think as women, sometimes we will make an attempt to try to get attention, to try to get what we need. We might, I would like throw out little things here and there, but I don't think that was sufficient enough because I wasn't communicating like I should have.
Yeah,
I wasn't communicating what I needed.
Well, yeah, because a man, we need to know. You can't really like read your mind and know what you want unless you just straight up tell us what you want.
Right.
Because when I found out the affair was happening, I was blindsided. I was like, I didn't have a clue why. I thought our relationship was great, but come to find out, I mean, after going through recovery and stuff, I saw how messed up it really was, and I just was oblivious to it, But now I have the tools and all, and we've been through it. I know what not to do. I know what to do, what questions to ask you, to check up on you, how you're doing, see how I'm doing. So, if one of the things that we did grasp from this is learn how to communicate.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, because like I said, being a stay-at-home mom and then him working all the time, really, I found myself in a place where I was bored and I didn't have anything to do and I wanted to spend all my time with you. Now, I was excessive, because of my attachment style, that was excessive. But even with, like, even on the side of that, I still didn't know how to communicate efficiently that would get your attention and say, okay, we need to prioritize our marriage. And I don't think that we really knew how to prioritize our marriage.
Yeah.
Look, you have a question coming in from Bubbles on TikTok. Andrew, do you ever think about ex relationships? Stacey, do you ever have thoughts of him reminiscing? So you go ahead and answer that one first.
No, I don't, because they ended. So they ended for a reason. So I don't think about past relationships. And what else?
Oh, this one's for me. Stacey, do you ever have thoughts of him reminiscing? No. Oh my gosh. I do not have any thoughts of him any longer, but that was one of the things that kept me stuck for about 3 years. Was I just spent too much time down memory lane, way too much time, and I couldn't move forward 100%. So part of me was still thinking about him, and then I was trying to rebuild with you, but I didn't know what the roadblocks were. I didn't know what the pitfalls were because I didn't have anyone to tell me, okay, don't think about him this way anymore, or this is how you can go from seeing him as a positive to seeing him as a neutral and get your, untie your heart from loving him, so to speak. And I just didn't know how to do that. So I had to learn it as I went along. God was very faithful to show me that, hey, reminiscing is just going to continue to feed the flame that you have for him. It's just going to continue to feed that desire. So that is something that you don't want to spend your time doing. And it's something that I have, I teach my clients how to not do this because it's so important. If you want to stay in recovery for a long time, just stay in memory lane, because you will. If you want to get out of recovery quicker, there's definitely ways that you can do that. I saw a question. How do you prioritize your healing with infidelity, work on yourself, and try to focus on your marriage?
How do you? I don't have my glasses on. What is that?
How do you prioritize your healing? with infidelity, work on yourself and try to focus on your marriage?
Whew, that's a good one. I mean, I know I was in a really bad place, so I remember we went to a Christian counselor that tried to help us, but I mean, I'm not her. She did the best she could, but um, I just had to see God in that. And so when I was, I just poured my heart and soul into, asking God and learning what do I need to do. That was my main priority because I didn't want to lose my family and I wanted to become a better person. So that was my number one priority, was working number one on me, right? Because we wish we could fix the other person, but we can't. The only person we can fix is ourselves. So my priority was working on myself, and as I worked on myself, that kind of worked on you, right? Because I was becoming the man that God wanted me to be, because that's what I focused on. Was I perfect at it? No, indeed not. I made so many mistakes. I made every mistake I think you can. So I can tell you guys what not to do. That's for sure. That's how I learned what to do. So I think working on yourself should be the priority, and then your relationship will reflect that, right? Especially if the other person is willing to receive it. Everybody has, free will and stuff like that, but I firmly believe that, God doesn't want any marriage to break up unless, there's reasons why maybe you should, maybe like physical abuse and mental abuse, stuff like that. But just stuff that went on and we're unhappy now, or life happens and stuff like that. God wants your relationship. He wants you to be together. He founded marriage. He loves family, and that's the way. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and so for me, how I did it was I made sure that I was working on what I needed to work on. So I focused on grief. That is something I was going through. Whether we like it or not, people judge it, it doesn't matter. You're still going to go through it. So you have to take that time to focus on you. The unfaithful, we need help as well. We're still in pain. We caused it. We did this to ourselves. Yes, but we're still going through pain. So it's important to prioritize that healing, that if that is working with someone, then, so be it. If you're stuck, of course, I recommend working with someone. And then, to not necessarily keep it separate. I didn't really keep it separate. We still took that time to say, okay, what are the steps that we need to rebuild our marriage? And we started taking those steps forward. So that's kind of how I did it. So I worked on me and I worked on the marriage as I could, as I felt better to do that. I hope that answers your question, Tanya. The next question is, Andrew, do you have children with other women?
No, I do not.
Guys, if you can like this live on TikTok and probably on YouTube, it will help YouTube. It'll help them to push it out so more people can, join us and get the help that they need. So someone says Saul had free will too, and look what happened to him. Yeah, free will can be dangerous, but you have to learn why you really had an affair, and that's kind of something that I'm really big on, is let's learn how.
So let's define about like free will. So free will. God gives us free will, okay? That means that he gives us the choice to make our own decisions. Right? He's not going to barge in. He's not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. So I lost my train of thought there. But so it's like when I was trying to win you back, right? I was working on myself, and I'm trying to do what I can to attract you, let you see I'm really changed. That was my free will. My free will was, I'm going to change because I want my family back. And I want to be actually a better man than I was before. and there's our dog.
Yeah,
And not only that, so I didn't want to force you. I didn't want service from you. I wanted you to love me back with your free will. So that's why I just went in what God's word says to do and seek Him. And, when you pour love into someone's life, odds are, you're going to attract them. People are attracted to other people because of things that they say about them, right? We talked about that the other day. How you see yourself through someone else's eyes.
Yes.
So, giving you words of affirmation, letting you know why I love you, showing you, that I can change, that I wanted it, I was hungry, and I was actually doing it. Even though you had free will, right? Your free will was to trust me and to come back, right? And be willing to work on the marriage.
Well, so is yours, though.
Yeah,
your free will. I mean, you had free will to stay with me because you didn't have to. Yeah. I mean, even biblically, Jesus gives that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. Get a divorce. So before I found out, before any of this happened, a guy I worked with, his wife had an affair, and they split up. And I can remember thinking, this is probably a few months before. I can remember thinking, man, if that ever happens, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm not working on anything. You know what I mean? But until a situation happens to you, you don't know how you're going to react.
Yeah.
Because even though I was blindsided and it hurt, I knew that I knew I wanted you, the real you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, look what happened to Saul. You could say, look what happened to a lot of people. And it's real, it's true, yes, but God gives you that free will. So
yeah.
Free will is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, a lot of us who have had an affair are afraid to come back to the marriage because they've had a taste of what they were needing, like an unmet need. So they're afraid to come back and be in that same place again.
Yeah, so if you come back and you rebuild the same marriage that you had before, you will be in that position again. So the key is to build a new relationship, not go back to what you had.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see a question that keeps popping up. Okay. Andrew did not have an affair. It was me who had an affair. So just to just to throw that out there. But this might be a tricky question or, kind of like a hard question, but it is a question that I got. So how do you know when your spouse is over the affair partner? As a betrayed, how can you know that?
Well, I can remember I wanted a heartfelt discussion from you.
Right.
A heartfelt apology. And like you said, you were stubborn, you stuck down memory lane. And I mean, you told me, you were sorry and all that, but probably after, it was over a year, for sure. And then when it came to me, you were genuinely sorry. You genuinely showed me that you repented, right? The repentant heart, you'll know when somebody has a repentant heart.
Right. You're not looking for remorse.
No.
You're looking for repentance, because repentance means that I have changed my mind about the situation and I'm going back the way I came.
And let me tell you, she wasn't going to have that repentant heart discussion with me if it wasn't real. I'm just saying, because during the affair, I mean, it was bad.
Well, yeah.
There was no fake I love yous or anything like that.
Well, no. I mean, I didn't want, at that point, everything was out in the open, so I felt like I just needed to be honest. I just needed to call it what it was. So.
And that comes through after recovery, right?
Yeah, and it took a little while to recover because I was stubborn, because I was afraid. Like fear was huge for me. I was so afraid that I would be alone. And that is valid. You know, people who don't have insecure styles or the fear of abandonment, they can feel that way also. But because I had those core wounds, it just amplified it. And that was my problem. I was afraid to be alone. And I didn't want to go back to an empty marriage. I just didn't. I didn't want the kids to grow up and it just be me, you know, and us not really be partners.
You got another one.
Let's see. This person said over 5 years standing, no affair, but she left me for her family, biblically still married. I'm waiting on God. I just don't want to get in the way. So I contact very little because she is cold as ice. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you know why? Like, did she give you a concrete reason as to why she left? I would say stand for your marriage though, because let me share a little bit of my testimony on my side. Okay, so when I was in the affair, my husband found out, then he started praying. I had some friends praying, and my mom was praying and all that. I could literally feel the prayers. So you don't want to give up praying for your spouse. Things would happen. We would have to cancel plans. Weird stuff started, happening. He would call me and it would be all the things. So don't give up, because I knew, being Christian, what was going on. I knew God was intervening and trying to block that situation. So don't give up on your spouse until you feel like it's time to move on. Okay, someone said, hi, thank you for doing this. My husband and I are closer after infidelity. However, my husband almost had another affair but didn't. Our relationship feels stronger than ever. That is awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing well. It's not uncommon for someone to have an affair, to be tempted to have another affair if they don't know what caused it in the first place. A lot of times we think it's the spouse. I blamed him until, God said, no, it's not him, it's you. You made that decision, but I had those core wounds. So our core wounds, our attachment styles, that is what is the reason behind us having the affair. And because these core wounds live subconsciously, and our subconscious mind controls 95% of our behavior, this is where it comes from. So this is why people have repeated affairs. But you can heal your attachment style and prevent future affairs. But I'm glad you guys are closer together. Let's see. Let's talk about recovery and what that should look like in a healthy way. That's a great conversation.
You go. You started out there.
Okay. So I'm kind of passionate about recovery when it comes to couples, not just individuals. I think there's a time and there's a place to talk about the affair. Of course, that first 30 days is, it's a whirlwind. The affair is going to be the highlight of the conversation because you're both in shock and your spouse's head is spinning, that kind of thing. So it's important to do that. But however, as time starts to move on, the conversation about an affair should get less and less. I say about 30% of the conversation should be about the affair, and the rest should be about rebuilding your marriage. Like, I want to know what happened, what you didn't like, and I wanted that from you as well. Like, I needed to know his side. Like, what's wrong with you? What am I doing in the marriage before that you didn't like, and how can I fix it now going forward? So basically, we sat down and said, this is what we want in a marriage, and this is how we're going to try to get to it. And we started to prioritize our relationship. That is so important, that you prioritize your marriage. I mean, we did that every day for a while. So recovery, the first couple of years, is going to look a little bit different than after. after you've come out of it. I mean, you can still bring some of those habits in, but you dedicate more time to each other during recovery. What do you think?
And recovery is not going to be a microwave fix. It's more like a slow cooker, right? It's a whole new relationship. It's to realize that the old marriage is dead, and it's time to start rebuilding at, heck, not even friendship level at first, right? The goal is to get to that point. I really highly recommend if someone you can find that you can trust that can coach you through it. That's really important. We really didn't have that. That's why we're doing this.
We both, yeah, this is like a free, I say free, but this is like a live coaching call. But we do offer coaching sessions. I work with the unfaithful and he works with the betrayed. So we're available to you guys. And what happens is we take everything that we learned and teach it to you so that you don't have to struggle as long as we did.
And I also get questions like, or statements, say that, not questions. From people that I work with, I talk to, it's like they don't want to start working on a relationship in the marriage until after they know for sure that the affair is over. I'm going to say that's enough, right?
Yes.
We should start working on recovery right away in small areas, right? In strategic ways also. Don't go shower somebody with I love yous and stuff like that. It's more about figuring out what boundaries there are and setting realistic expectations and actually following those. That's the first step in building trust with one another. Because I remember I was so messed up. I needed constant you telling me everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Reassurance.
I had constant reassurance. Thank you. I lost that word. But what happened was I would do it so much it would push you away.
Yeah.
And I finally had to get it through my thick head that, well, I need to respect your boundary, right? So I can tell you, but when you tell me enough is enough, and I respect that, and then I do that on a continual basis, then that's going to help build trust right there. From your side, from your point of view.
Yeah, right. And another thing about recovery that I have noticed that just shuts a couple down and stops progress with the unfaithful, like my clients, what they tell me is something that pushes them away, is when they are judged and they are constantly made to feel like they have to pay for what they've done. Or constantly say, I'm sorry, that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I don't have good thoughts about that. Like, you shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't, say, hey, if I tell you I'm sorry and you constantly looked for that every single day and constantly reminded me about the affair and what I did wrong and how terrible it was, then that's gonna push me away from you because I don't want to hear that. I already know that.
There's churches that do that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I've been through a lot when it comes to hearing the damage that's been done to the unfaithful because of that part of recovery. And I don't think it's necessary because if you're a betrayed spouse and you're doing that, you're not making room for your spouse to heal and you're not going to get the results
you're pushing them away.
That you want.
You're going to push them away.
Right.
I'm sure you got another question.
They're just saying, let's see. She had childhood trauma, which got worse when her mom died. Yeah. I can understand that. I am so sorry. I really, I'm standing with you in prayer that she will come around. Okay, so the other person who said that her and her husband are closer says that she has PTSD now, and he won't get help when she brings it up. So do you have any advice for her?
He won't get any help.
Right. Well, she said that, thank you for doing this. My husband and I are closer after infidelity. However, my husband almost had another affair, but didn't. Our relationship feels stronger than ever now. And she says now she has PTSD, but he won't get help when she brings it up. So how can?
Well, it sounds like he just wants to avoid it. I mean, who wants to work on stuff if you don't have to? I'm not sure. I don't know what the situation is. I'm not sure if did he tell you, did he bring it up? Did he let you know? If that's the case, that to me, we just talked about this today.
Oh, we did. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me,
Yep.
that is a positive thing.
Sorry. Yes, it is a positive thing if he brought it up.
If he brought it up, it's a positive thing. If you want to look at it that way, I look at it that way because he didn't go through with it. He didn't keep it to himself and go through with it. I would say just, man, if he doesn't want any help, I mean, you guys sound like you guys went through it before. It's okay to pray together, try to come up with a plan. I mean, you can't really force anybody to get help.
I can't see all the like the questions, guys. This is our first time on a live, so it is. I don't really know my way around. So it's hard for me to see all your questions and comments. So if I get anything wrong, please forgive me. I'm not trying to. But
I think it's good to have a conversation, though, right? To have.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of communication skills you guys have. It sounds like.
That was them. That's our daughter.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's okay to have that conversation and to come up with a plan. Pray together. Sounds like he's on top of at least talking to you about it before it actually happened. And encourage him. Let him know that you're proud of him for bringing it up, and hopefully he would, reach out to somebody for help.
Yeah, and the thing is, what the awareness that I'm trying to bring is
because it's something deeper, right? There's something deeper.
And that is what we want to work on so that we won't have another affair. We want to prevent a future affair, and that's how we do it, is finding out what the core wound is that caused it. So, I mean, if he would like to speak to me, that you can give him my email if you have it. Go to my website at modernday.com. There's some information there that could help him, but really it's doing the work. It's work. It's not, like when we work on attachment style problems, it's hard. It's hard work. It's not easy. But in the end, it's worth it because now you're aware of what really caused the affair. Sorry about that. You're aware of what really caused the affair, so you know how to respond if you get in that tempted place again. And you can eventually get to the place where you are not tempted by that anymore because your perspective on what is going on, it has completely changed.
Yeah, but not only that, I mean, anytime you sin, and especially when it's something deep like that, sin always doesn't make its way back around. So it's a good idea, and especially if you have help where people can make you mindful of that, to be prepared for that to come around again.
Yes. Well, biblically, Satan comes back. He always tries to come back. When he is kicked out of the house, he goes and he roams in the desert looking for another place.
Yeah.
When he can't find one, he comes back to the place he left, and if it's swept clean and empty, then he will inhabit it again and bring more that's worse.
Yeah, which can be, I went through recovery, and that's it. I stopped there.
Yeah.
Right, and then the house is, that's why I think in this situation, what it would mean to be a house swept clean. At that point, when your recovery is just about done, I would say. It's time to start working on that. Why did I have an
Yes.
affair? So if I can find out why I had it, now I can prepare and, arm myself to not let it happen again.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And as Christians, we're not. I don't think that we really understand the battle that our marriages are in,
Oh God.
and don't understand the behind the scenes of what is really going on. With relapse, because I look at relapse spiritually from that point of view. So relapse is, hey, we reconnected. It's been 2 weeks or a month or 2 months. Now we're talking again. Okay, you've relapsed, and each time it gets worse to walk away, because when Satan comes back, he brings more with him, more in the trap. So when God talks about your house being swept clean and empty, it's great to clean that out, just like Jesus cleaned the temple. He went in, he cleaned out all the thieves, because he said his house was a house of prayer, and they turned it into a den of thieves, and he cleaned that out. Well, we have to fill it back up. We can't just leave it like that. We can't just end in that state where, okay, this is it. I'm over this person, or I'm kind of over this person, but I'm moving on. The affair is over. No, there's more work that needs to be done.
Mhm.
And arming ourselves with, why did I really have an affair? Guarding our heart, learning to manage our attraction. A lot of Christians don't understand that it's normal to be attracted to someone, because God said he gives us everything to sustain life. So for us to multiply, we have to have that ability to see someone that's attractive, but we don't have to give into it. So a lot of us, if we are attracted to someone, then we get afraid and we get in condemnation, which in my opinion kind of further amps up the attraction, because I'm trying to ignore it instead of processing through it.
Mm-hmm. Not avoid it.
What are your thoughts on that?
Pretty much what you just said. I mean, God refers to us as vessels, so a vessel is not meant to be empty. So it's gonna be full. It's just what we're gonna allow to be filled with.
Right. And that can go back to the reminiscing and those types of thoughts.
Well, not only that, it could be on my end too. I could just fall right back into the patterns I was in.
Yeah.
When I didn't want to spend time with you or the family. I wanted to do my own thing when I was off, or I wanted to work days on end so I can make all this money, right? I mean, I could fall right back into that too. It goes both ways.
Well, it's like also not just old patterns. I also think it's, what if you couldn't move past what I did and you just let all the imaginations fill your mind up?
Yeah.
With like, where are you at today? Or every time we drive by, a marketplace.
That happens for a while.
It does. No, it
right?
does,
Yeah.
but it could ruin you if you stayed in that place. Like if you filled your mind with, for me, if I filled my mind with an affair partner, then I'm not going to be able to move on. If you filled your mind with the affair and what happened and going over everything and trying to figure things out, then you're not going to be able to move on.
Exactly.
So
what else we got?
I think that's it. That's all the questions that we had.
On the top two?
Yes. The last one we got was, let's talk about recovery and what that should look like in a healthy way. So
I know y'all got something else.
Tanya, I hope that answered your question. I hope we answered your questions. You're not in the frame. You are now.
I am down there.
Yeah. So, in closing, what I would like to say is just be encouraged. An affair, like recovery from an affair, marriage, individual, doesn't have to take as long as you think it does. You can recover. Your marriage can be better than it was before. It takes effort, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, if I can do it, y'all can do it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Because I was not in a good space when all this began,
Mm-mm.
and it took me a while because I was hard headed,
I
right?
was too.
To listen to what God had to say, because He had me do. You can ask people that work with me. I mean, some of the things that I gotta say is unconventional
Yeah.
stuff that you can never think, but I know it worked for me. And I know it can work for a lot of people because it's all based biblical principles.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. God's way is definitely not like the world's way. I know that even with my clients, some of the things that I teach is different than what's in the infidelity recovery circle, but it works because I did it and it worked for me. So I want to be able to share that with you guys so that it can work for you. Because one of the things that breaks my heart the most is when someone tells me or I read something that people think that they can never recover from infidelity. They think that the spouse will never get over the affair partner.
Oh, I get those comments
That breaks my heart because I realize that people really believe that you can't move past it, and it's just true. It's just not true. Like I don't think about him anymore. It's been 12 years. He's not in my heart. I'm in love with my husband now. We have gotten to that place of, I think, unconditional love.
Oh yeah.
So that is a peaceful place to be in your marriage. But please don't think that. Like, don't believe that lie that you cannot move past this because you can. It takes work, but you can get there. And I'm just saying that genuinely from an honest place.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, recovery is not always beautiful. If many of you guys are going through recovery right now, you know what I'm talking about. But the thing is to keep pressing in, keep believing God, keep in the Word, and keep doing what God is asking you to do relentlessly.
Yeah.
And there's good, bad, and ugly. I'm telling you, I've done them all. My side of recovery probably went over. If I knew what I knew now, I could have streamlined it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have took as long.
No, but I'm just saying it was not. It wasn't easy. It was some very tough times.
Yeah.
I would take one step forward and two back. And
yeah, that's common.
But the thing is to just keep pressing in and keep learning. God's word is just that. I mean, we're just biblical based because that's how we did it, right?
Yeah.
I lean on God carried me further than I walked. I'm gonna tell you.
Well, I mean, so some people say, "Do I regret the affair?" I do regret the affair, but the problem is, I don't regret what I've learned about God. Like my relationship with the Lord completely changed after the affair, and I saw Him in a new light. I didn't see Him as condemning. I saw Him as merciful and graceful and compassionate, and I really learned how to make God my best friend. It was just an amazing experience for me, and I know that that's the Lord's heart for His children who are stuck in the trap of infidelity.
Yeah.
He even tells us in Galatians that those who are overtaken in a sin, the ones who are mature spiritually, should restore them gently and humbly. So God, His approach to healing us as an unfaithful is gently. He is there to help us and to love us and to show us what really caused the affair so that we won't do that again. Because that's the goal, is for us to live in His goodness and not keep repeating an affair. Because that's destruction.
And you're gonna have a bunch of naysayers, especially the betrayed spouse. I know I still have a lot of naysayers, a lot of hate comments.
Yeah.
Don't just be careful the voices you listen to, the voices you let in your head. You need to go where it gives you peace. And if you want your family that. Don't let anyone discourage you from that.
And be careful the stuff that you read.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what you're taking in, because you can take in too much information and then it all becomes confusing and you don't know what to believe, and it just makes things a lot worse. But I enjoy being here with you guys. Thank you for the ones that, asked the questions. Thank you for everyone who's watching. I really hope that what we said encouraged you.
And let us know if you want us to do another one. I mean,
Yeah.
This is our first one, so I'm kind of.
Yeah, we're kind of.
I'm kind of.
I'm so sorry, but we're kind of experimenting on you guys.
I'm not really a big
bit.
video person and stuff like that. So if I seem kind of off, that's why.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think we'll get better over time, but we want to do these live coaching sessions for you guys. Just to help pull you through a dark time that we went through and really didn't have anyone to pull us through. So we want to be that person for you. We want to help you and encourage you. And you can find me at moderndayeeve.com. You can find him there as well if you want to talk to us or anything. But it was nice to meet you. I pray that everyone's situation on here turns out for good and that God blesses all of you guys. You have a great night, and I will see you on TikTok.
And remember, you are not the choice that you made.
That's right.
That choice, so.
And it's not your fault. If you're a betrayed spouse, it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't cause it. I don't care if you dropped the ball in the marriage. Still didn't cause it. We all had a choice. Of course, we take responsibility for, the marriage, but the marriage is a two-way street. We both have to put into it.
And help one another.
Yes, because we're a team, right?
That's right.
All right. Bye, guys. Y'all have a great night.
Did you have any questions you didn't?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I got to figure out how to end this live because y'all, I don't know. Y'all on there watching me. Oh, wait. End. Bye, guys. We had 320 views. Really? Congratulations.